Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. Welcome to the stories behind the song. And my name's Lukey G. And you guys, I'm sorry I haven't posted in over a month. It's kind of weird, but actually not. I'll tell you what's been happening. I had surgery. Turns out I have thyroid cancer. So I had to have surgery, and that was a big deal. I was scared of having surgery. I was scared of having cancer. And now I have to do, so the surgery was done. I'm fine. I made it to the other side. But now I have to, I'm going to be doing radiation therapy. I have to do that for 6 weeks. And I'm still in the process of scheduling everything required to go through this process. And I am been dealing with that. And it's been an interesting challenge, because it is scary, but at the same time, I am well informed. And I know what's going to happen more or less. I'm familiar with the side effects, even though everybody's a little different. The thing is, the main idea here is to get rid of this pesky thyroid cancer that I've got. So that's what's been going on. So I took a break, I just was dealing with a lot of stuff. But, even though I haven't started the radiation therapy yet, I'm between the surgery and the radiation therapy, and I'm doing okay, I'm doing good. So I finally, I was like, okay, I want to get the final song from the end of the year, Billboard end of the year top 100s for 1971. I want to do the final song for that section. And I don't know, man. I'm going to play a little bit of it for you and see if you can figure out what it is. Okay, here we go. Listen up. It's 99 on the list. The bass is incredible. And the keyboards. The keyboard is everything that set these instruments set the tone. Just 3 instruments: drums, keyboard, bass, and of course the sound effects of the storm. Riders. All right, so I love this song. I've always liked this song. I just like the feel of it, the tone of it. I really love, who doesn't love the sound of a thunderstorm, right? It's the best, right? So I love that about it. I've always loved the song. So I was very excited when I saw it on the playlist of the Billboard Top 100s for 1971. But I was surprised to see it at the end, number 99. So I'm not going to go into the details of how they came. There's a lot of songs that came out in 1971. So I'm sure they have a system in place. How do they figure this stuff out? But in reality, I was really surprised. Now, Riders on the Storm, I used to think it was Riders in the Storm, but it's Riders on the Storm. And this was recorded in 1970 in December. Okay, and the Doors, what they did was that they kind of were looking for an informal place to record their final album, LA Woman, in which this song is included. And they wanted to find a really informal place where they could kind of just do their own rhythm in terms of the recording. So they had this place, and they called it the workshop in LA. And it was a private space, a private house that they developed as a recording studio, and it had offices on the second floor, and they had the recording studio on the first floor, and it was in Santa Monica Boulevard in Hollywood. And they had the house from 1970 to 1971. So I guess they had it for a year, because throughout that process, Jim Morrison dies anyway. So it was a 2-story building used for rehearsals and for recordings. The band and their producer, Bruce Botnick, they wanted to record their final album, LA Woman, in this kind of a space rather than a traditional recording studio, right? And the thing is that they wanted to create a more intimate, kind of like live vibe, live feel to the sound and the recordings that they were making, which I thought was kind of cool. It was very interesting. Now, to achieve this kind of specific sound, Jim Morrison, especially when he was doing his vocals for the album, in this space, he chose to record his voice recordings in the bathroom of the workshop. Now, you know, bathrooms have great acoustics, so I can see why he wanted to use the bathroom for his recording because of the acoustics, right? It makes total sense. So this space was really important for the band. It gave them the ability to come in and leave as they please. They managed to escape the pressures of high-tech studios and schedules and all that stuff, and just to work at their own pace, which is actually, it's a good way to go, in my opinion. So the space was pretty important because it gave them a creative sanctuary, to work in. And so the Riders on the Storm was recorded in December of 1970, and it was released in June of 1971. It was written by all 4 band members, Jim Morrison, Ray Manzarek, Bobby Krieger, and John Densmore. So Ray Manzarek is the keyboardist, and Bobby Krieger is guitarist and bassist, and John Densmore was playing percussions, the drums. And so Jim Morrison was born in December of 1943, and he died in July of 1971. So the song was released in June of 1971 and it became a huge hit. And then he died less than a month after that in Paris, France. As a matter of fact, if you go to Paris, and you can go visit his grave, but they've kind of fenced off his grave because people would go there, and there was just, people were doing all kinds of stuff, leaving all kinds of stuff, painting things, it's just crazy. And so Paris decided to just fence it off to keep it like from being, harassed by visitors, because everybody, Jim Morrison, we loved Jim Morrison. He was amazing. He's a little crazy. So anyway, he's American. He was born in Florida, not in LA, like I originally thought. So he's considered an American singer-songwriter and a poet. Okay, so he was the he wanted to create this charismatic front or image of himself. So they were a California-based band that was grooving to psychedelic rock. So when he died at 27, it kind of like enhanced this rock music mythic figure, you know, rightly so. He called himself the Lizard King, and this cultivated a dark and mysterious persona. Like, you know, wow. The Lizard King, wow. You know, it's very, very like Mexico vibe thing going on there. And kind of like countered the hippie optimism of the 60s, you know, so his was darker side, the dark side of the hippie movement, with the psychedelic vibe. And, you know, and in the 1960s, they were also a counterculture vibe too of the traditional culture. So it's counterculture with counterculture. Yeah, it's like pushing the limits of how far you can go with the artistic expression. And he did do that. Now, Manzarek is an incredible keyboardist. As you've heard in the introduction that I just played right now, his keyboard playing is honestly incredible. Listen to the song with your headphones, don't forget, and you'll really get that feel of his work. So he's an American guy. He also sings, and he also was a music producer. And I say was because he's pretty important. He's one of the founders of the Doors. When he met Jim Morrison at UCLA, Jim Morrison graduated from film school at UCLA. I didn't know that. So he was a film kind of semi-scholar, right? Probably oh no, did he go to graduate school? I think he did. Film school graduate. No, he might have just done an undergraduate. I'm not really clear. But anyway, he's born in 1939 and he dies in 2013. He just, you know, not that long ago. Well, actually 13 years ago. That's a long time. I mean, that really, he was, but you know, when I'm talking about Manzarek, I'm getting confused. I'm talking about Manzarek. He was born in Chicago, Illinois. That's what it was. Yeah, and with Jim Morrison, they co-founded the Doors. That's really what I wanted to say. I'm getting tongue twisted here. So, their music has been classified according to Google and Wikipedia. Is classified as psychedelic rock, jazz rock, art rock, and kind of like a precursor of gothic rock. Okay, now, of course, so natural for human beings to want to put everything in little boxes, you know, and little identification titles and stuff like that. So that's what we're doing here with this. So what is psychedelic rock? Well, psychedelic rock is a subgenre of rock, and it originally emerges in the mid 1960s. You know, you can hear some psychedelic rock with some of the songs the Beatles did in their album Revolver, for example. Inspired this music by the psychedelic culture. And what is the psychedelic culture? Well, it's like, you know, hippies, people in general experimenting with drugs, especially hallucinogenic drugs. And it created this whole culture of going beyond the self or digging deep into the soul of who I am. You know, this whole questioning that was going on. And let's see. So we're talking about, yeah, that's where it's coming from that culture. Like going down to Mexico and going to visit the Mayan ruins and getting taking some hallucinogenic drugs with you and taking them there in the ruins at night on a full moon. It's like, you know, it was a lot of fun for sure. We were having fun. Some people were having more fun than other people, you know. So the music from this genre, so incorporated like a new electronic sounds, effects, and recording techniques. So it extended instrumental solos, making them longer, more improvisational. That's where the jazz component comes in. Many psychedelic groups offer a different style with where so that this term psychedelic rock is applied fairly widely to a lot of different types of music. Like, for example, the Beatles and Revolver, and then you have the Doors with Riders on the Storm, and then you have like Pink Floyd in Echoes, for example, because psychedelic rock matures into a space rock and progressive forms, heavy jazz influences, that kind of thing. Some of them had classical influences. So for example, if you have not heard Pink Floyd Echoes, I will be putting some of these links so that you can listen to this music. So there's that. Psychedelic rock, we have Funkadelic, Maggot Brain. Okay. And then there's a Flower Traveling Band, Satori. I'll be putting those links for these too. Other examples are Alice Coltrane. Alice Coltrane, this incredible woman, album called Turiya and Ramakrishna. So those are some of the influences. And according to the guitarist Bobby Krager, and to Manzarek, the keyboardist, Riders on the Storm was inspired by some country song. That was one of the inspirations. This country song was called Ghost. Check it out if you want. Riders on the Storm. Oh no, it's called Ghost. Riders in the Sky, a cowboy legend written by Stan Jones and popularized by Vaughn Monroe. I'm going to see about putting that link for you there also. So the lyrics were written and brought to the rehearsal, and at the place, at their gig place, their informal little hangout, and it was finally recorded by these guys, the original lineup of the Doors featuring Jim Morrison. Okay, so let's play a little bit more of this song because I'm just gonna click here somewhere in the middle and see what we get.
If you give this man a ride, sweet family will die. Killer on the road, yeah.
There's the guitar. Great licks. And that's like an example of an elongated jam, where you have the guitarist really doing his thing, the guitar player doing his thing with the theme of the song, and it's a long piece of just him playing. In the background, he's being backed up by the keyboardist and the drums, but there it's the one who's showing off is the guitarist. So it's pretty cool stuff. Nice arrangement for a simple pop song. That's, how long is this song? Well, this version is 7 minutes and 15 seconds. Just because it has these elongated riffs going on. So, what are the lyrics saying? The lyrics are incredible. So, it starts with Riders on the Storm, Riders on the Storm. Into this house we're born, into this world we're thrown. So when he's saying into this house we're born, I think he's talking about your astrological house. Like if you were born under the sign of Aquarius or whatever. That's what I think that means. astrological signs. Into this house we're born, into this world we're thrown. Yeah, so like you're born and then you're gonna get thrown around. I guess, you know. So like a dog without a bone, an actor out on loan, riders on the storm. An actor who's pretending to live a role, to be a character, but it's not really you. You're just borrowing that character. Like a dog without a bone, an actor out on loan, riders on the storm. It's very dark, right? Now, then he goes on to say, there's a killer on the road. His brain is squirming like a toad. Take a long holiday. Let the children play. Let your children play. So there's a killer on the road. Back in those days, there was they called him the hitchhiker killer or something like that. That he hitchhiked and killed a couple of folks while hitchhiking. So he, you know, I guess they're putting that character into the lyrics of this song. And then it goes on to say, if you give this man a ride, sweet memory will die. Killer on the road. Yeah. So kind of like a warning, right? Be careful who you give rides to. Hitchhiking was very popular in those days, by the way. Then he goes on to say, girl, you gotta love your man. Girl, you gotta love your man. Take him by the hand, make him understand. The world on you depends. Our life will never end. Gotta love your man. Yeah. And I find these verses really interesting, you know, because they're really quite telling, actually, you know. You have to love your man, take him by the hand, make him understand. You know, it's almost like, as a man, he's saying, you know, we're really stubborn. And pretty much, you know, love us even though we're so stubborn, and guide us even though we're so stubborn. That kind of, you know, that's what he's saying. Make us understand. Push it on us. Be a little bit aggressive about it. I'm not saying beat us up, but I'm just saying just be consistent and persistent maybe with your man, which is kind of interesting. The world on you depends. Our life will never end. So I guess the world on you depends that the life of man never ends. Gotta love your man. You know, this is really interesting because, you know, women are the life givers, right? We're the ones who go through pregnancy and give birth, give life. But the thing is, sometimes, you know, a lot of women just don't want to do that anymore. So does that mean that the life of man will end? The world on you depends. Our life will never end. Gotta love your man. And then he goes on to say, riders on the storm. Riders on the storm. Into this house we're born. Into this world we're thrown. We're born and then we go into the world without really knowing anything. You know. It not only does it take humans a long time to be independent. You know, we live with our parents, 18 years? At least. And then we were ready to move on. Some of us stay with our parents even longer, which is fine. I'm just saying. But, you know, the world is a harsh place out there. And we're thrown into it. We're born and we're thrown. Like when you're born, the act of being born is very violent. All babies are born crying and kind of like in shock. They're being thrown out of the womb into the coldness of the atmosphere. So, and then he goes, riders on the storm, riders on the storm. Into this world we're born, into the world we're thrown. Like a dog without a bone, an actor out on loan, riders on the storm. And basically, that's it. Let's hear a little bit more of this song. I'm just going to put another part to listen just quickly. Okay, let's see here. Let's play this part. This is almost at the end. See how the bass gives you that dun 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 dun.
Riders on the storm.
That bass kind of, for me, it kind of sets that dun 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 dun. It's almost like a heartbeat, or like, you know, just rider, because it's riders on the storm. You know, I can't help but envision a rider on a horse in the storm, and just riding in the storm at that kind of slow beat. Like, you know, you're out in the storm of life, trying to find your way through the rain. We all go through that. It's part of the human experience. So you guys, that's the song. I love it. I hope you guys like it too. If you managed to stay this long into the video, that's very cool. Thanks for visiting. I really appreciate it. And if you want to make any comments, go for it. Doesn't matter to me either way. But if you want to do that, that's very cool. And if you don't, that's cool too. It's like, you know, no pressures here. But if you manage to watch the end throughout the whole video, that's awesome. Thank you. And just to let you know that now I'm going to move on to the end of the year top 100 hits, Billboard end of the year top 100 hits for 1972. So until the next video, you guys, I am going to be doing my radiation therapy. So I will probably manage to get 2 or maybe 3 videos out between then and the final weeks where I'm going to be feeling like I'm dying from radiation. But of course, I'm not going to die. All right. Till then, peace, love, lots of understanding. Take it easy, and we'll see you next time. Adios.